Qianhai, located on the Nantou Peninsula in Shenzhen, is dubbed the special zone within a special zone. It has been a focus of the Chinese Communist Party's efforts to transform it into China's Manhattan. A decade later, the reality is starkly different. Towering skyscrapers stand empty, shopping centers lack customers, and highways are eerily deserted. This project, personally overseen by CCP leader Xi Jinping, has become yet another unfinished venture. A man shares his experience in Qianhai.
What strikes me first here? The emptiness. Aside from the Qianhai New District and the Excellence Group projects, office buildings and commercial areas are desolate. You hardly meet anyone in other areas after walking for minutes. Though skyscrapers are rising, they remain hollow inside. After 10 years, Qianhai is either construction sites or vacant land, now turned into makeshift parking lots.
This was captured in a video posted on Douyin on October 27th, showing Qianhai's deserted office buildings and the lack of commerce. Commenters on the video expressed skepticism about the demand for such massive office spaces given the current economic climate and doubted Qianhai's development prospects, having missed China's rapid growth phase.
Look where I'm pointing. There are two complexes in the Wenjian Hongqiao area developed by Qianhai Life Insurance, a top-tier maternity hospital, and a commercial office building. They were meant to be valuable additions to the Hongqiao area, but have since been left unfinished. Despite assurances from Qianhai Life Insurance about resuming construction in June, the site remains deserted with no signs of workers.
Recently, Qianhai Life's performance has been declining. Its parent company, Bangneng Group, is mired in debt, facing issues like delayed payments, layoffs, and unpaid wages and social security contributions. Reviving the abandoned buildings left by Qianhai Life is expected to be a significant challenge. Shenzhen, one of China's first special economic zones, soared economically thanks to policy advantages. However, over 3 decades later, these benefits have diminished, and its geographical advantage of being next to Hong Kong has weakened, with stakeholders lacking the drive for innovation. In 2010, Beijing approved the Qianhai project as an experiment to propel China into new growth. Qianhai, initially funded with $45 billion and envisioned as a mini Hong Kong on the mainland, was touted by Chinese media as the future core of the greater Hong Kong Bay Area, central to the Pearl River Delta. Qianhai was to be the gateway for international capital into China, a hub for high-end services, and China's own Manhattan. Qianhai was meant to become a seedbed for new technological and financial innovations, a waypoint for better integration with Hong Kong, a future international center for technology and finance, and a testing ground for market and information access liberalization. Its slogan was, "Relying on Hong Kong, serving the mainland, facing the world." CCP leader Xi Jinping has visited Qianhai 3 times, personally overseeing and directing its development. His connection with Qianhai dates back to 2010, when, as then vice president, he commented on a proposal regarding the cooperative development of the Qianhai area with Hong Kong on January 9th of that year. In November 2012, after becoming the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping's first inspection tour outside Beijing was to Qianhai, Shenzhen. During this visit, he called for a renewed start in reform and opening up. In 2018, on the 40th anniversary of China's reform and opening up, Xi praised Qianhai's model as feasible and advocated its nationwide promotion. In 2020, during his 3rd visit, Xi emphasized the need to deepen the reform and opening up of the Qianhai-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Modern Service Industry Cooperation Zone. In the past few months, Reuters conducted interviews with 10 executives and investors, real estate experts, diplomats, economists, and 10 workers in the region, painting a picture of an essentially desolate area. The report highlights the area's half-empty skyscrapers, shopping centers, and underused highways, along with complaints about the lack of attractiveness to working professionals. The region is perceived as having abandoned its ambitious reform goals. 5 economists and 3 diplomats pointed out that Qianhai's struggles reflect the limitations of the Chinese Communist Party's traditional build it and they will come growth model. While Shenzhen succeeded with this approach, Qianhai's attempt to replicate it has failed. Despite claims by the Qianhai Authority that over 100,000 companies have set up branches in the area, including HSBC, UBS Group, and Standard Chartered, real estate agents, executives, and investors indicate that many companies registered in Qianhai have never actually relocated there. Some companies rent office space in Qianhai for tax reasons and to maintain good relations with local authorities. 3 real estate executives noted that a continuous supply has driven up vacancy rates, making it difficult for new companies to move in, apart from state-owned enterprises. Qianhai's remaining selling points include a dual 15% tax incentive, reducing corporate income tax from 25% to 15% and offering a 15% personal income tax rate for Hong Kong and foreign talents. Additionally, there are subsidies for office space. Companies listed in the Qianhai headquarters directory can receive support of up to 3,000 yuan per square meter, capped at 30 million yuan, distributed over 3 years. Eligible institutions can receive 1,500 yuan per square meter, up to 15 million yuan, also spread over 3 years. The incentives in Qianhai are similar to those in other special zones, such as Nansha near Guangzhou and Hengqin next to Macau. Intermediaries report that rents in Qianhai are double those in Hengqin and 6 times higher than in Nansha. Klaus Zenkel, chairman of the European Chamber of Commerce in South China, commented, "Previously, each region had something special to follow, but now anywhere can do anything, which is too chaotic." Zenkel added that no new European companies have moved to Qianhai. The infrastructure in Qianhai is already there. The only question is, how do you convince companies to come? A June survey by the Chamber of Commerce of 75 businesses found that only 44% were optimistic about the Greater Bay Area, a city cluster including Hong Kong, Guangdong, and Macau, a significant drop from 68% in 2022. Qianhai Stone Park, despite being located in the Nanshan district of Shenzhen, has long been overlooked, possibly due to its previously inconvenient transport links before the subway's opening. Most of its infrequent visitors typically take photos beside the Qianhai Stone, inscribed by Chinese statesman Deng Xiaoping. At a coffee shop near the Qianhai Stone, a barista named Zhang spends most of his time chatting with other staff members due to lack of customers. "There aren't many customers, and I don't think many people come to see this stone. Sometimes it's boring, but it's also nice to have some quiet," he says. Data from Knight Frank, a global real estate consultancy and property agency, shows that despite lower rents in Qianhai due to subsidies, the office vacancy rate in the third quarter stood at 28.9%, nearing the highest level in 3 years. In contrast, Shenzhen's overall vacancy rate is 23.2%, while Beijing and Shanghai range between 15.1% and 17.1%. In recent years, the problem of unfinished buildings in Shenzhen's Qianhai area has attracted widespread attention. Homebuyers have invested significant funds, but face the dilemma of undelivered properties. Additionally, Qianhai's property prices have led the decline in Shenzhen. As the frontrunner in the previous surge in property prices, Shenzhen's overall market has retracted by about 40% from its peak, with Qianhai being the most affected. Pessimistic views about Shenzhen's property market are rife externally, and similarly, negative sentiments about Qianhai are prevalent locally. Online, pessimistic opinions have emerged. The Qianhai bubble is too big, inflated to the sky, overdrawn on expectations for the next 5 to 10 years. Qianhai is just a pie in the sky. There's nothing there. It's doomed. The reasons for the bearish outlook on Qianhai are nearly identical: an oversupply of office buildings and a high vacancy rate. A visit to Qianhai reveals densely packed office buildings with very few people around. Chinese-American economist Li Hengqin analyzed that Qianhai's situation is not isolated. It's not just one place, it's the entire Chinese economy in a significant downturn. Li Hengqin noted that geographically, Qianhai as a corridor between Shenzhen and Hong Kong would prosper if Hong Kong does. Hong Kong, previously Asia's largest financial center, enjoyed free capital movement and the rule of law. However, since the suppression following the anti-extradition law protests, these advantages have vanished, leading to the decline of Hong Kong's economy and a significant loss of capital and talent. Additionally, Shenzhen itself has been in decline. Li Hengqin notes that major real estate companies like Evergrande, Vanke, and Country Garden, all registered in Shenzhen, are nearly failing due to the dire economic environment. Public services in Shenzhen have had to be cut back, impacting Qianhai, which was once seen as a bastion of the city. Xie Tian, a professor at the Aiken School of Business at the University of South Carolina, believes that Shenzhen's decline is in sync with the ebbing tide of China's so-called reform and opening up. Professor Xie explains, Shenzhen's prosperity was once based on its reliance on Hong Kong and the so-called reform and opening up, with the world's factories choosing these coastal areas. Now with China's economy in decline and Hong Kong struggling, Shenzhen has lost its internal and external dependencies and no longer has any advantages. He adds that the CCP's path of reform and opening up has reached its end, with shrinking external markets and internal crackdowns on private enterprises, leading to a state-dominated and private-receding economy. It's not just a matter of special zones, it's the entire economy in decline, which will lead to the CCP's political collapse. This is the most critical issue. Industry insiders in China generally believe that the rise of a new area, like a free trade zone, often takes a long time. Continuous capital and industry input are required for the development of new areas. The farther from traditional city centers, the more difficult and expensive it is to develop these new areas. However, with China entering a period of low growth, Qianhai may never achieve its desired international status. In January 2020, Qianhai introduced a free trade account system. The Chinese government claimed that domestic and foreign institutions and individuals within the Qianhai-Shekou Free Trade Zone could manage free trade account-related services. The Free Trade Account, or FT, is essentially a banking account system that integrates local and foreign currencies and allows free exchange within the account, independent of the traditional account system and operating with separate accounting. Economist Li Hengqing points out that the signs of decline were evident when Xi Jinping first took office in 2012, with many foreign businesses wanting to divest and domestic businessmen looking to transfer money overseas. The authorities then attempted to implement free conversion of the yuan, hoping to prevent foreign currency holders from fleeing. The largest attempt was the Shanghai Free Trade Zone, experimenting with free yuan conversion similar to the US dollar. However, many companies registered in the Free Trade Zone never set up offices, using it instead for foreign exchange and then moving money away. The Chinese government was forced to halt these plans. Years later, Shanghai's yuan-free conversion remains at a pilot stage. Li Hengqing says the situation in Qianhai's Free Trade Zone, attempting free yuan conversion, will be the same. Li Hengqing believes, in the overall poor environment in China, holding yuan is useless, and there is always the risk of financial loss. People want to take their money and run, which is a general trend. So whether it's Qianhai or Shanghai, the 21 newly approved free trade zones are essentially sham. They are collectively deceiving Xi Jinping. Some economists also criticize Qianhai as a vanity project and a performance project that is labor-intensive and expensive, ultimately doomed to failure due to a broken funding chain, with Xi Jinping bearing all responsibility for these unfinished projects.